On this episode of the podcast, we talk about the mastermind principle and how to apply it in your life. We also talk about what people really want when they're looking to hire someone for video, and also the power of knowledge products and what future opportunities it opens for commercial filmmakers. What's up, friend? Hey, I'm Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business Podcast, the show for corporate and commercial filmmakers that are wanting to build a business without burning out. We cover topics on this show like how to get more clients, how to get paid what you're worth, and how to work smarter, not harder. I almost said that backwards. You're not alone, my friend. As a commercial filmmaker myself, and as a business owner of that commercial filmmaking business for the past 17 years, I am here to help guide you, to help show you the way by sharing some of my own pitfalls and sharing some of the successes that I've had for how I have built a 7-figure video production company. Currently, only work about 20 hours a week in that business. Sound good? All right, let's jump in. Before we get into the interview, which I'm very excited about because I get to hang out with my good buddy Graham Cochrane, we've got a Facebook group that if you're not a part of, this is a community of other like-minded filmmakers that are really trying to build a business that works. So if you would like an opportunity to network, it's a great place to connect with other people. People hire each other and lean on each other, ask questions. It's a safe place. It is a good community. You can get access to that group if you go to studiosherpas.com/community. Speaking of community, I mentioned this recently. We're going to have a formal announcement and opportunity to sign up, but the Onward Summit Part 3. This is our in-person event. The Onward Summit is happening again. It's happening in June. And if you have thought about coming in the past, I know if you have been here, you're like, oh man, I got to get there. It is an incredible time of being together, learning, growing together here near Detroit, Michigan. I want you to pencil in these dates, June 5th through June 8th at our studio in Lake Orion, Michigan. Go to studiosherpas.com/onward and you can get on the wait list right now because soon enough, we're going to send an email out and say registration is open, save your spot, get locked in, and come hang out with us for a few days here. I promise it will be a good time. If it's not, then I promise the next time you come, it'll be a good time. Just kidding. Okay, that's all I have. Let's get into this interview. Roll the tape, DJ, or whatever we need to do. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome to this episode. I'm delighted today because, I do this show and I get to have on guests all the time, and a lot of people I'm meeting for the first time, and other people I get to have on, they're like my pals, my buds, and today you get to meet one of my friends who has been on the show before. It's been like 3 years or something like that, but I would love for a warm round of applause, a warm welcome. I don't know. How do you say that to like people that aren't here live? Graham, hey man, welcome back to the show.
Oh man, I was waiting for the sound effects. We'll
put those in later.
Okay, that's good. Post-production. Yeah. Oh, that makes me feel so wanted when there's lots of adoring fans listening to us.
So here's a scoop. I met Graham at the Kajabi conference years ago, and we have a fun story. If you want to hear that story, rewind and listen to a past episode. Graham is the founder of The Recording Revolution, a 7-figure online music business that helped millions of musicians around the world do what they love since 2009. Now, Graham runs GrahamCochrane.com and is dedicated to teaching everyday people how to build their own business right in their own living room. His upcoming book, How to Get Paid for What You Know, Turning Your Knowledge, Passion, and Experience into an Online Income Stream in Your Spare Time, reveals everything you need to know to start your business today, even with just $50 to start. Graham Cochrane, Welcome back to the show, my man.
It is an honor to be here. I can't believe it's been almost 3 years. That's crazy.
Dude, it's been a minute. Fortunately, I mean, we hang out, we see each other on a weekly basis.
Yes.
And,
it's not like we haven't talked for 3 years, but to be on your show, sorry, just to clarify.
My good friend Graham.
Who I don't talk to ever.
So I have just to preface here, as you're listening to this episode, there are people that you meet that you're like, wow, that's a cool person. You mutually you benefit from friendship. You learn, you grow together. Graham has been that for me, but he has been just a huge inspiration for me in this world of, I've got a video production business and I've got this amazing team and we're doing cool client work. And 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, when I had this dream with my friend Matt to say, what would it look like for us to help more videographers, more video studio owners really build businesses that last? And so we said, let's do this. And we kind of cobbled together this business. And along with that came this idea of a podcast. And the passion and the drive that I have to help video business owners do this work, and not just for a year or for 2 years, but to build something that can actually become a legacy and that can become a huge blessing to so many other people. I would say that what Graham has spoken into me, what he's helped me with through his own experience, because he started doing this kind of work, online education, a long time ago, and has weathered the storm, has learned the hard way. But man, you have been so generous to me with your knowledge and just helping coach me as a friend, but also, as a student. And I'm so grateful because the people listening to this episode have benefited from what you have given me. So thank you, first of all.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. It's an honor to call you a friend, man. I'm so proud of what you're doing.
And second of all, I guess that's about all we're going to talk about today. So thank you again for just...
You're welcome. Goodbye.
All that you are.
The end.
So let's just get let's get the cat out of the bag. That's the saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say that? Let's get the cat out of the bag. Let's talk about this book.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I met you, there was kind of we talk about dreams and goals and things that we want to do in life. And you kind of were like, I think, I don't know. There's this maybe there's a book one day. I think that would be really cool. But, and it was, I feel like back then it was just sort of this dream.
Mm.
And it's been so fun to see this thing actually come to fruition, the process, the journey. So just talk a little bit about that in for somebody that might be interested, what are they going to get from this book?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm teaching every day in my community or in the mastermind that you're a part of, or every week on my podcast or YouTube channel. I'm teaching people how to start an online business with a passive income style business, digital products, email list automation, all that stuff. So in a way, this isn't any different. It's just in a book. But see, books change people's lives. And I can look on the shelf. I got books behind me. I've got books on my Kindle, books at home. I can look at each book and go, wow, I remember where I was when I read that. I remember what season of life. And I remember maybe 1, 2, 3 major takeaways, or if it was a really good book, things that I actually applied from that book and life change I saw. And it's something that Jordan Rayner, who's actually in our mastermind now too, Jordan says it's people and books change lives. That's what changes your life usually. That's what's great about podcasts is you can get mentorship from people on a podcast. It's the same premise, but I love books. And I was like, man, I want to create a book. Even if it makes no financial sense, I want to create a book, I want to create a book that's on a bookshelf for the Graham in 2006, 7, and 8, who would steal away to Barnes & Noble on his lunch break from his corporate job that he hated and scan the business bookshelf or the personal development bookshelf, not knowing anything about business, not really wanting to start a business. I didn't want a business. I just wanted freedom. I wanted an escape. What I found was Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. I said, sign me up. Yeah. But the problem with that book at the time was that it sounded like a fairy tale to me, so I returned the book to Barnes & Noble. I was wrong. I ended up rebuying it 2 years later after I was forced to start a business during the recession of 08, 09. And now I reread that book every year, and I love that book in so many ways, and it's shaped a lot of my thinking. But I want to write a book for Graham then that would have been approachable, that would have been like, hey, this is actually an opportunity. You can actually do this. Here's a normal guy who did it. I'm not crazy. I'm not even that smart. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured this out. And then here are the actual steps. Like, I love books that are didactic and they're not just conceptual. Like, here's a cool idea. You could start a business, but I want to give people the tools in this book. And that's what it does. It walks through the 6-step process. And then it really breaks down a lot of the typical fears, objections, limiting beliefs, all the stuff that keeps us from doing cool stuff like starting a business, because it's real and I deal with it. We address some of that. And I hope it's both didactic, concrete, but also motivational at the same time, that you actually read it and go, I can do this. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably one of my favorite things about you. I've told you this before, that your ability to simplify and make things actionable, your YouTube channel, your podcast. I mean, I listen to your podcast. I'm like, I'm like your boy, and I'm like, listen to your podcast. I'm like, oh yeah. And I've always got takeaways, because the way that my mind works, I'm like this visionary, and I've got all these ideas, and I'm like, oh, I can try that. I can do this. And I tend to overcomplicate like all of the things in my life and my business. And to have a guide like yourself come alongside and say, well, I mean, you can do it like that, right? But maybe you want some more freedom in your life. And so here's another way that you could consider doing that. The 80-20 rule, and just so many things like that you've learned. You're so gifted and talented in just being able to extrapolate those things that are going to make the biggest impact, but that are also very achievable and doable, which I just think is like mind blowing. You don't have to have this like master plan, like this huge, like here's all the things that we're going to do, and it's going to take us 14 years to get there, but when we finally get there, it's going to be amazing. Sure, it takes a long time to build something that is sustainable and successful, but the steps getting there, I haven't read the book yet, but you're like, well, it's the 6 steps. And some people are like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's just like 6 steps to like build a 7-figure business. It's like, well, like the core principles are all doable. And I know, because I've applied your teaching. It's like, yeah, this stuff actually works. There's no magic formula. It's like, here are the steps, and in a way that you can achieve them.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, to that point, like, people are skeptical and cynical, and they should be in some regards. Like, there's a lot of hype, and books in particular. Like, this is one reason why, bro, I didn't want to write a book for so long, even though I wanted to write a book, was because I didn't want to be one of those guys writing a book, because everyone's writing a book and they're all stupid and they all have these bombastic titles that promise a lot. And I don't mind if something I have sounds hypey, because I know I'm going to deliver on it. So I would only create something that I can actually help you with. But there is a lot of hype. But the cool thing, to your point, is, and you teach this stuff, and you help people with this, is like, it's like anything. If someone has gone somewhere before and they figured out how to do something, there are components that are rudimentary, and they're important, and it's the way it works. The mechanics of throwing a football 60 yards, like there's mechanics that you just have to have in place. Now, there's an art to it. Everyone's got a little different style, but there's some things that are 100% true all the time. So a throwing coach can help somebody improve their throw simply because there's steps. Just because there's steps doesn't mean like it's become boiled down to hype. Like, there are steps to doing certain things. And so what I'm trying to do in this book is not, you're helping a lot of people doing freelance work and all that kind of stuff. I think this book is very applicable to freelancers who already have a business, because what I try to do with freelancers is, because I was a freelancer first, I was a music producer. I try to help freelancers not abandon their freelance business, but add a passive income component to their freelance business, because then they have another dial to turn to free up time and crank up the income, which is kind of cool. So they could take less client work, or be more picky, or raise their rates, or all of the above. So I think this book is going to give people a way to make a living, not the only way, but a way. And I've done this in 2 different niches over the last 12 years, to hobbyists, musicians who are all broke, to business owners. A lot of them are broke, the ones that seem to find me, at least. I'm not working with a lot of high-end clients, but there is a step-by-step process to the way this specific business model works. And what I hope this book does is it shows people what is happening every day that people don't realize. I sit on an airplane and I'll talk to people in the whole conversation of, what do you do for a living? And I used to have all these answers that were accurate, but people's eyes would glaze over. So I stopped answering with accuracy and just answered with something that they want to hear, which is, I make YouTube videos. And people go, oh, that's awesome. How do you make money as a YouTuber? And then I tell them the business model, and then their eyes glaze over. But what I explained to them on the plane is the 6 steps. Like, it's really simple. There is a method to the madness. Now, you got to go out and do the work. But man, I've done manual labor. I've worked in corporate America. This is way easier, way more fun than that. So it's not hard, but it is a process. And I don't have anything magic to teach, just what I know has worked and what I want people to experience, or at least give it a shot.
Yeah. I love that. So this is definitely something as I've got the Video Business Academy where I kind of like help people build this foundation for their video business. And it's like, here's how you can sell with confidence and not be sleazy and slimy, but add value and do all these things. And, we go through the cash flow quadrant.
Oh, I love that.
And, and talk about, do you have a job? Are you owned by your job that you start? Are you really a business owner, not required at the center, but like your business can run and make money without you? And then do you have any investments? I look at, this idea of passive income, creating something that can sit on the shelf, whether you're creating it yourself or you're working with somebody else and partnering on something to create something that can, make money like once it's built. Talk a little bit about like when, with what about video, I know you work with a lot of creatives in the space that you're in. What are some actual ways, because client work is great and I've done client work forever. I've got a family now. I've got like teenage monster kids and, it's like weird and whatever. But a long time ago I said, like, I don't want to always be required in my business. I want to be a true business owner where my business runs without me. And part of the reason why I started Studio Sherpas was to create, like, maybe there's a side income that I can have where I help educate and teach videographers, producers, because I don't want to always have to work. I want to be able to take 2 or 3 weeks off and enjoy my family or just enjoy some free time. So what are some practical things, like, from the service that we provide as video people? What are some ideas that come to mind that's like, man, like, if you're in that world, and obviously it comes down to people's passion and like what they're excited about, but what could be some practical places where people could land and say, like, oh, I could create something that's a passive income stream doing something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a lot of ways to create passive income, like book royalties, song royalties, sell an app, like all that kind of stuff. What I teach is
stock footage.
Yeah. So my wife has a stock photography membership, right? So people pay for stock photos. There's a lot of ways to do it. What I teach and what I do is what people call knowledge commerce. So it's information products. So it's basically teaching. And so this is very common. You do the skill, you're good at the skill, and then there's people that ask you questions. They usually come to you. If you're the video guy or the video gal in your town or your church, your community, people are like, hey, I'm messing with a video for like my bar mitzvah or my whatever, how do you edit? Like, what tool should I use? Like, what camera should I buy? If you're that person that people ask those questions, you're already doing this. You're already teaching them. You're saying, don't buy this, do buy this. This is some basic things to think about. And then you're able to gauge whether someone's advanced or beginner, and that changes what information or advice you give them. If you're already doing that, then that's all I'm doing for a living, is taking that and systematizing it and virtually raising your hand and saying, hey, I'm also an educator in this space. And you don't have to be the biggest player in the space. You just have to have some audience that trusts you. You have some credibility because you already do the craft. And now you're just teaching them what you know. You're not teaching them something you don't know. You only can teach what you know. And that makes it really, really manageable. You're just sharing what's worked for you and what's worked for your friends that you've helped in the past. So I see a lot of freelancers or service-based people. Let's say you're a videographer, your people, like you're already doing a done-for-you service. That's what you're doing. Well, there's 2 other layers to that. You could add a done-with-you service, right? So let me create some education on how to do the thing. So here's how you could do your own videos. How about you go watch the education, and then there's coaching calls, and I'll jump on and I'll help you and I'll correct your edits. Don't let the colors off. Let me fix that for you. So I'm doing it with you. I'm educating you a little bit, but I'm also still giving you some of my time to help you coach through the process. And some people would actually pay for that because it's a little cheaper than me doing it for you. And they might really want to learn how to do it themselves, but they don't feel confident on their own. Done with you is a great option to add. And then there's do it yourself, DIY. And that's just the online course or the membership community or something where it's like, look, you could hire me or you could buy this course and I'll teach you how to do what I do. And if you're scrappy and you actually want to try it, like for some clients, this will be perfect for you. You don't need to pay my rates. And so you're really adding more value by giving them more options. And then you're opening yourself up to more customers who either maybe couldn't afford you or maybe wouldn't have considered a do-it-yourself or done-with-you option, and they actually like that just as much. Most people think no one would ever buy a course from me. They want me to do it for them. Don't assume anything. That's what I've learned in life. Don't assume anything, especially what people are willing to pay for. All you can try is putting the offer out there and seeing what people buy. So those are some options to think about.
I love that. But what about, so as soon as you say DIY, like where my head goes is like, okay, well, I'm going to hop on YouTube. Like if I want to learn how to, do a thing, like, so why would I create, a DIY course for somebody if I can just find the videos on YouTube?
That's like the number one question. In chapter 1 of my book, I cover that because like people, they won't go any further until I answer like, why would somebody pay me for a course when I can get all this information for free? And there's a few reasons why, right? Number one, people are overwhelmed. You get on YouTube and you're just overwhelmed. Like, yes, there's stuff online, but it's just tips. It's like one-off videos. It's one-off here. And then there's different teachers and they all say different things and they all have different opinions. So what used to be novel and cool, like, whoa, Google it or learn it on YouTube, now is like, oh gosh, I know there's gonna be a million videos and it's gonna be my job to sift through them, watch them all, figure out who to listen to. So an online course is you being a curator. You're like, hey, you don't have to search the internet. Here, this course, you buy it once, and I've curated all the information for you, everything you need to know. And it's in a linear start to finish, do this first, then this format, which like your Video Business Academy is doing all of that. I don't have to search YouTube to look for a pricing model or like the cash flow quadrant or how to sell, not be sleazy. Like I could just get one thing, follow the steps. People just want the steps, right? Do you ever watch the show Dora the Explorer? Did your daughters ever watch that? Oh my gosh, bro. The map, the stupid song.
The map.
There you go.
Sorry.
And there was always like just 3 steps, like there's always 3 steps. And like, that's what we want. We just want the steps. That's something Donald Miller talks about in his book. I'm blanking on Story Brand. Yeah, Balloon Story Brand is like people just want the 3 simple steps. So he even teaches you in your copy to create 3 steps that don't exist. Click on this, download your thing, and then get results. It's just the magic of like, it's going to take me from start to finish. So your course curates, it gets rid of overwhelm. There's another layer of coaching because when people buy a course from you, they can ask questions directly in the course, and it's a smaller group of people, and you're going to get the attention and the proximity of the course creator. Whereas a YouTube channel, I don't keep up with all my YouTube comments because there's a million of them, and it's just hard to keep up. So you're going to get proximity and a little bit of coaching through just comments under the video. And then finally, people, you know how it is, like people value what they pay for. And they don't really value what they don't pay for. So we know from studies that people could watch a YouTube video and maybe a super fan will apply it and get results. And some of mine do. Most don't. They watch it and go, yeah, that's cool. And then they don't change their life. If you buy a course for a few $100, you're going to watch the thing. You're more likely to at least watch the thing and more likely to take some action than if you just watch a YouTube video, which means it's going to lead to results and life change. That's why people hire personal trainers when they could just work out at home for free. You can just do push-ups and run and stop eating crap. But why do we pay for personal trainers? Because we need accountability. Once we've paid, we're like, I'm going to show up. I paid for this darn thing. And there's something there that's powerful.
Dude, I love that. So good. And I mean, it is a super good analogy of like, I mean, the health industry exercise. It's like, yeah, you get that person to guide you. You're accountable. It's like, okay, I got to tell them, did I do the stuff and it's like, so you're kind of guilty, but if it works, like, okay, so you got to feel a little guilty but if I know somebody's going to ask me, then I'm more likely to get it done. A lot of times it makes sense to do that. We've got one of the guys in my mastermind is very talented. We had our session today, and he was talking about when I met him years ago, actually not even that long ago, probably 3 years ago. He was just to preface here, he was not using contracts with for his client work. So he would engage, they would spend thousands of dollars, and he wasn't using. And when he told me this during an early coaching call, I was like, dude, are you serious right now? Like, you don't have a formal, stop everything you're doing and get a contract for every job moving forward, because legal trouble, like all of the things, like you just want to avoid any of that. In just, 3 years, he has come a million miles. So if you're just thinking like, okay, this story that Ryan's going to share, it's like, this guy's probably been doing business forever. He hasn't. He has quickly found a niche in the past couple of years working in real estate. In real estate, he has become, like, for one of his clients, like, he has really become a guide. So the guy originally hired him just to, follow him around, make all these videos. As this student, Jeffrey, has progressed with his client, he's really started asking bigger questions like, well, where do you want to go with the business? And like, what are some other, goals, dreams, things that you have? And so it is coming up with different ways to serve him. In this whole conversation, him and I have had multiple conversations over like, hey, what would it look like if you created some kind of a free thing for other real estate business owners that wasn't necessarily to hire you to do real estate video? Because on your website, you come to your website, it's obvious that's who you're marketing to and trying to get people to buy real estate videos, your video service. But what if you had a DIY thing for the people that are not, because most real estate agents are going to figure out how to do it on their phone. They're buying the Osmos, they're buying the gimbals and Mavics and all that stuff because they're like, wow, I could save a few bucks here and there. But then there's a certain percentage of those that are going to do the things, and they're going to realize, like, when they're editing, like, man, this is taking a lot of time. So Jeffrey, have this free thing where people, you get them a win by downloading this thing, and then create a DIY course for these guys, $100, $500, like whatever it is, and sell it. Here's what's beautiful in kind of what you're teaching, Graham, is that even if nobody buys that course for him, he's going to be marketing it, and people are going to see like, well, I don't actually want to DIY it, but I've seen this and I've heard it. He actually knows his stuff. We just want to hire him to do the thing. So it can work both ways, where he's got a passive income product that also pushes forward his service. And in all of the things, what he looks like is a guide. Like, he's just trying to serve however he can and get maximum results for the people that are engaging him, hiring for a service, downloading his free thing, paying for his paid thing. There's just a lot of benefits to adding this thing in line with what you're already kind of doing.
Oh, that's a great example. I love you're using that story brand language of guide. Like Donald Miller's like, be the guide, your customer or your client is the hero. Don't get those things swapped. Guide is such a powerful way to frame what you're doing. This is something Jay Abraham has talked about for years, where he says that like, you have to view yourself as your client's trusted advisor. So whatever you're selling, video content for realtors, like if that's all you position yourself out as, then you are just a commodity that can do a service for hire, your gun for hire. Yeah. But even if all you do is still the service, but in your conversations, you ask, those are great questions. You ask questions like, what is your goals for your business? Like, what realtor is getting those questions from videographers? Like, right. That's just a really seductive kind of thing. And I mean that in the best way possible. People just love being asked, like, what are your dreams and desires? Because who's stopping to ask us that? No one. Everyone's too focused on themselves. But it sort of changes the relationship. Is like, wow, there's videographer, and then there's this videographer who also like helps guide me and advises me. She's a trusted advisor. I trust what she says. Yeah. You might not be any more talented, or you might be less talented, but you could probably charge more, and you'll probably have an endless referral source because you have positioned yourself as a guide. And to your point, wrapping it all together, I think when you have some kind of content out there that says you're an educator, or like even if it's a free download, that instinctively positions you as the expert, because you're the one now saying, look, I can share this information, share this knowledge. And it's a subtle way of saying, like, I'm confident that like I know what I'm talking about without being like a jerk. You're actually giving something away. Even if they never need it, it makes you look more credible. It makes you look like you're more than just the commodity provider that you are. You are more than that. I don't want to put anybody down, but like, that's what separates you from the rest, is like, you said, like, I'm here, I can guide you. I love that.
Yeah. That's super powerful. That what you just said there changed our business 5 years ago. When we started, we would get a phone call from a client. They'd be like, yeah, we want to do this video. And I would stop them and I'm like, cool. Like, here's the two different ways that we do video. Like, one is people call us and they just want to direct us, tell us where to go. They want our cool cameras and they want our editing ability. And so we do. And that's a lot of agency clients who just already come in with a storyboard and a really strong creative direction. And then there's everybody else that says like, no, we want to kind of team up with you and kind of like lock arms and tackle this together. So we don't know how to shoot, we don't know how to direct, but we do have some ideas in what we want. And that's where most everybody falls in. Where do you fall into those two categories? And most everybody says like, oh, unless it is an agency client, they're going to say like, oh, well, we definitely want some help. And as soon as you change the conversation, because when you say like, well, yeah, we're going to guide, we're going to direct, we're going to, we, at the end of the day, you're leaning on us. So I make them say that. Like, we're not leaning on you for the creative. You've got some creative ideas, client, but at the end of the day, you're trusting us in our video expertise to make this project successful for you. Does that sound like, and they would say like, yes, of course, right? Because otherwise they're going to do it themselves. Yeah. They're not calling us, or they just need our really cool cameras. They don't want to invest in, $30,000 of gear for a half a day shoot. That changed our business, because then we started saying like, okay, cool, we'll do this project with you, but we're going to do a workshop first where we're going to guide you through our video telling process and our storytelling process and how we create great videos for our clients. We're going to work with you. We're going to work with your team. We're going to get synergy with your team, make sure they're all in alignment. And we charge $2,500 for this workshop. And that's before we propose like, okay, based on that workshop, here's a couple of ideas that we talked about. We're in this meeting that they've paid for.
Wow.
I used to give away all these same ideas. I used to ask all these questions, these same questions that we ask in this workshop. Used to do it all for free. And most of the time, those people wouldn't even hire us. So I'm like coming up with great ideas, giving them, pitching them to them. But the same ideas, the same people, in the context of, well, you're going to pay me $2,500 and we're going to do this. And the conversation has changed. We have never had somebody not hire us after they've paid the $2,500 to do the video. And the respect, not that I'm not looking for respect, but they feel like, well, we're invested, so we really trust these people. So they don't pay the $2,500 if they don't believe in our expertise or they don't trust us. And that's great, because then we're not giving free ideas away. We're not wasting time with people that don't value what we bring to the table, and we're not working with those people. And that works out for us, and it works out for them.
Oh, that's a great idea. There's a layer there to the point of creating content and raising your hand as somewhat as an educator, whether you're using that language or not. Don't we instinctively respect, to your word, and think someone is smarter if they're teaching us something? Because like when we moved to Florida, I was looking at neighborhoods. I didn't know Tampa. I didn't know the area. So I was researching like where should you raise a family? What are some good neighborhoods in Tampa? And I stumbled across a blog of a realtor who I realized had a really helpful blog about the area. And he wasn't selling his real estate services. He was just like, here's the latest stats on this neighborhood. Here's the crime rate. Here's the school ratings. Here's some news about what they're going to build here. It was a very informative, kind of like a neighborhood news type site, but it was a realtor. And so there was other realtors in Tampa. There's tons. But this guy, I was like, oh, he's got to be super smart, because like he knows all this stuff. And like all the other realtors know that too, but he took the time to just put out this content. So then part of it, I had to give him my email address to get this free guide he put together on like all the neighborhoods. And so now I'm on his email list. I'm giving you part of the book here. And then so now all of a sudden I'm getting followed up with stuff from him. Like, here's the latest updates on this neighborhood. And here's what's changing. So I don't even have to go to his blog anymore. He's just staying top of mind in my inbox. And when we finally looked to move, he was the name that was stuck in my head of all the realtors, is this guy's name, because I had subtly been interacting with him and I knew he was smart, but he might not be any better. He might not even be a qualified real estate agent. I don't know, but I called him up because that was the one that seemed more like a guide and stood out from everyone else. And so it makes sense with your workshop that people are like, wow, people like to be let in on the inside secrets of stuff. So when someone like teaches you or exposes the reality of something, then you're like on pins and needles. You're like, oh yeah, you got me the inside scoop. Yeah. So now when I pitch something to you, you're like, oh yeah, I might trust you because you told me how it is. That's why sales pitches always start with, did you know the reality about whatever? You're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. We want to be educated. We want to be let in on it. And it's not a tactic, but it's a human psychology of like, we don't want to be sold to, but we want to be brought into the know, and just educating somewhere in your sales process is going to help. That's all I'm saying.
My favorite recent story, we had a client come in for the workshop. They told us we don't do the workshop unless we have a budget range, because we're not going to, it's like you wouldn't go around with your realtor without telling them how much you're going to spend on a house. So we're not going to, I'm not going to let you spend $2,500 in this workshop unless you have a budget range for this project. So we're with the client, and at the beginning of the meeting, hey, let's just talk. I know we talked before the workshop. Has anything changed with the budget? Where are you guys at? We want to spend about $40,000. If we really need to get more money, we can get more money, but we're just, want to stick around $40,000. So we do the workshop. We talk about a lot of different things. We create the blueprint, and in the blueprint, we've got a couple of different, we actually have 3 options for them: low, medium, high. Present these 3 options, and the lowest is actually $44,000. We try hard to always kind of where they're at, hit that. But we're like, man, to do all the things that they want, lowest option is $44,000. The next option, $70,000. Actually, it was $69,000. And then the other was $90-something thousand. This client who came in originally was $40,000, and they're a private institution. So they've got to fundraise, they've got to do these different things. They signed a contract last week. How much do you think they are spending with us?
Well, it's either option 2 or 3.
Yeah. They landed at option 2, and there's potential for even more, right? Wow. So they're spending $70,000, and just what you're saying, Graham, we kind of let them into this process. We educated them through and say hey, here are the different options. You can have, we can create a $40,000 version, but what do you want to take out?
Yeah.
Out of all the things that you said were important, which things do you want to take out? Because we can take them out and make it less. And they're like, no, we don't even want that one. We got to start here at the middle one. And I don't know. I think that idea of presenting yourself as a guide, as an expert, can be super beneficial. But I will say that people struggle, and I struggled too, using that word expert and feeling I'm not really an expert. I've only been doing this for 2 years, or 5 years, or I've only been doing this for 10 years. I know people think like that. I've only been doing this for 10 years. I haven't charged as much as I want to. I know I see this person's studio. I would love to be able to charge that much. And when I can charge that much, then I can start saying I'm an expert. But I even have a hard time saying I'm an expert. So what do you say to those people that really struggle with that word and that feeling of well, I'm definitely smarter than Ryan, so I'm going to call myself, he calls himself an expert. I'm the real expert.
I mean, that trips people up. And I think expert's a word to maybe avoid, because we all have a definition of what expert is. And it's imposter syndrome, which is a real thing. There's a study in the Journal of Behavioral Science that says 70% of professionals, high-end professionals, doctors, lawyers, all these kinds of people, 70% deal with feeling like an imposter in their job. They're a fraud. They're going to be found out. These are doctors and lawyers and people like that. So CEOs, 70%. So this just shows this is a normal thing. And whatever you think an expert is, someone else, their version of an expert is something crazy. So we got to get rid of that language and realize that people don't hire experts. What they hire are, to your language, guides. They want someone who can help them get results. That's all they care about. So what helps is knowing 2 things. One, you can't really help somebody or guide somebody where you've never been before. So maybe stop trying to build a business around something you really can't help people with. But look at what you have helped people do. To the earlier analogy, if you're the video gal or video guy in your town and people are always asking you camera questions or video editing questions, you've probably helped people who are beginners, or you've helped people who are intermediates. You know who you've helped before because you're steps ahead of them. So of course you can help more of those people. And that's all you're doing online, or when you're positioning yourself as a guide, is helping more people that you know a little bit more about, or a lot more about. They don't care if you're an expert as long as you can help them. And if you've helped other people in the past, highlight that. And you can do that without being egotistical by highlighting the success like you've been doing. This is a real meta, but during this conversation, you've highlighted the success of previous students who have, how they've done things, how they've improved, what they've figured out. All that does is make you look smarter. It makes you look more appealing because, you're the one that helped them get there, but you're doing it by celebrating their success. And ultimately, that's what's so beautiful about this whole expert thing is like nobody's paying attention to you, like, because they don't care about you. Even with the ones that hire you, they don't give a crap about you. They give a crap about themselves and the result, the transformation they need. So if you realize that takes a lot of the pressure off, because you can stop navel gazing, stop worrying about yourself and obsessing about yourself like a little narcissist, and be like, okay, well, they don't care about me, so I don't need to care about me. How about I just focus all my attention on them instead? What do they need? Asking them good questions. Who have I helped in the past? Maybe I have a Google Doc with some of my students, their successes, that I'll just reference from time to time. To remind myself, oh yeah, she worked with me and then she made $200K off of this thing that she launched. That's helpful for me to remember. And then I can use her as an example, whether by name or just like, there's a gal I helped and she did this and this is what we worked through and she's doing amazing stuff. And the people are like, oh wow, they fill themselves into that story. I want to be her. I want to have that success. Oh, that came from working with you? Is that through a course? Is that through done for you, done with you? They don't care what the matter of it is. It's just they know you helped other people. I want to be helped too. And so that takes a lot of the pressure off. That makes it less about you being an expert. I don't have any credentials. I struggle with this in the music space because people said, well, who is this guy teaching music recording? What has he done any albums for any bands that I know? No, like all my clients were like indie rock records that you would never have heard of. So some people were like, why should you pay attention to him? He doesn't have any Grammy awards. But my students were doing what I was teaching on YouTube and they were getting results. So then I started to highlight their results. Well, this kid's record sounded like this. He did what I taught him and it sounds like this. And he's super happy. Oh, and he got a record deal or he booked a gig, or all I have to do is talk about their success. And then people were like, wow, this guy could help me. And dude, I've struggled with imposter syndrome the whole time, but it hasn't stopped me from building a business. And I just try to make sure I'm not stuck, like looking at myself and all the time and focusing on my students, my clients, and their success. And it's a battle, but that's how you get out of it.
Yeah. Take the focus off of yourself. Go back to the Donna Miller, like you're not the hero. Like they're the hero, your clients, you're the guide. You're there to serve them, help them. Ask good questions. Also, like what's super practical here, like if you don't like selling, then guide, right? Stop selling, start guiding. It's one of my favorite phrases that we use here. Ask your clients what successes the video or videos that you've done have helped them. Not like, okay, you did this video and you sold $200,000 because of the video. Don't put all that pressure on your video. But know that your client had some kind of a campaign. They needed to do this video. Maybe they did send out some emails. Maybe they had paid ads to get more views on it or whatever. But at the end of the day, there was a purpose for getting that video done, in asking them like, hey, what kind of success have you gotten from that video? So if they said like, man, we have gotten 100,000 views, that's cool. But what's cooler for a lot of businesses is to say like, I think it's tied to like, $500,000 in revenue that we've gotten. It wasn't the sole thing. It was part of this whole campaign. Then you can actually say, we've done a video that's helped produce $500,000 in revenue for one of our clients. So ask your clients how the video or videos you've created with them have helped them. And then let that, exactly what Graham's saying there, let that be the thing that you're not pitching. You're like, well, if, we help this company, this is what we do. Like, if that sounds like, we could be a good fit, like, let's do this. You're really just pushing your client forward, their success. You're not selling. You're just like, here's what we do. This is the results that we've gotten. Not all the time. Like some other clients are just trying to build their email list, and some other clients are trying to hire better employees, and some other clients are trying to, there's lots of different purposes for the videos. Make sure that you're asking, what is the purpose of this project? What's success for you at the beginning? And then follow that up with hey, how is this video working for you? What kind of successes are you getting? And then that's just like all the things you can put on your website, talk about in your sales calls, instead of like, well, we've produced, this many videos and we've, done all this stuff. It's like, no, we've helped our clients, with the video, and they were able to do this, and this client was able to do this. Like, that's like way more enticing. That's way more my style. Like, I don't want to self-promote and try to push people, convince them that they need to hire us. It's like, here's what we've done. This is what the work looks like. And here's how we've helped clients. That's a way easier way to sell what you're doing.
Oh man, that sounds way better for sure. Isn't that funny though? Like, we suck at selling when we don't stop and think. We immediately think we should use marketing language, like stuff that sounds markety. And then we always focus on features, not benefits. Well, we've got red cameras and we've got this kind of stuff, and I've got a team of 30 people at my disposal. And Why? If we just stopped and thought for a moment, like nobody's buying that. Like very few people care about that. And the ones that do probably aren't the ones that you really want to work with. So it's like, think about for just 5 minutes, like what transformation do they want in their life? If you're a videographer, like it's not even a video you're selling or even the production, like what does that video, to your point, do? Does it help them in their business? Does it help them look more professional? Does it help capture a memory? Does it help, like what is it that it's actually doing? And either talk to those specific conceptual things or better yet, specific examples of students or not students, but clients that you've worked with that you've helped them do, to your point. That's what you're selling. And then, the way to get there is by working with you. And what ways can we work together? And then you just invite them into a conversation to see if you are even a good fit, which is to Jay Abraham's point. Also, you've had Bob Berg on the show, the go-giver. Like the ethos is the same with both of those guys, is you have to be the trusted advisor in such a way that you're willing to invite them into a conversation and then be willing to say, you know what, we're not the best people to work for you. You should call my competitor down the street. I think they're a better fit for you. That's like mind-blowing because nobody does that. And it'll actually make them want to work with you more because like, wait, what? You want to turn me away? But that's if you view yourself as the advisor, you are actually going to ask questions to see if they are a good fit. And that takes all the pressure off because you're almost flipping the script like, do I even want to work with this person? As opposed to like begging them to like give you money. Because then you're so respecting yourself more and your company. And if you have a team, like, is this really the right client for us? And that takes all the pressure off.
Dude, that's really good. What you said at the beginning of that made me think there is a lot of, and I was like this too early on in the business. I wanted, I would say we, like, oh yeah, well, our team or we, and it was just me. Like there was nobody else, right? But I like had a mouse in my pocket or something. And there's a fear. I always tell people, I'm like, people need to see your face, right? Because you're the brand, and like when people can meet you, then it becomes like, okay, do they like you? Like and if they don't, then great. Like they're a better fit for somebody else. Don't work with people that you're not a good fit for. So when you're like, putting a picture, people are afraid like, well, if people just see like just me on my website and I don't have like this big team, here's the deal. If you're highlighting your clients and the success that you're getting, people don't care they don't care what you look like. They don't care how big your team is. They're like, if you can do what you did for them, if you can do that for me, I'm interested. Like, let's have a conversation. So if there's just you're a solopreneur and it's only you on your website, you're highlighting everything else. You are the guide, and it's a smarter, it's a better, it's easier. You don't have to fake it till you make it. Just be who you are and say like, yeah, like it's just me. And, bigger projects, I actually bring people in. Like I scale. So you get the cost savings of me not having the overhead of like this huge team, and like being open, honest about that stuff, I think is so much better. And then back to this idea of being a guide. If you can talk about the results that you're getting for people, they don't care if you're a huge team or they might actually say like, well, if he's just like one person, we're probably actually going to save some money. And like, these are the kind of results like that. Let's talk to this guy and find out, how does he do this?
It's funny. One quick story about results, like in the music space and music production, there's you record an album, and that's what people see in the studio with the microphones and the guys performing. Then you edit and mix the record, which is just typical post-production. But then there's a final like post-production step called mastering. And it's mastering is like the most like elusive, secretive, dark art of it's like the last remaining like thing that they've kept a secret where no one really knows what happens, so that they still send stuff off to mastering engineers when they're really not doing anything. They're not, I mean, no offense if you're a mastering engineer, but like I have friends that are mastering engineers and like they're great, but anyway.
But they don't do anything.
So the perception of a mastering engineer or this final step is like, you know what? This is the final quality control step. And like, this is what makes it translate as best as it possibly can on every kind of speaker system, good on earbuds, good on, in a club. And it's really important. And that's why it's quick. It doesn't take long because they've done all the complex mixing, but it's like you need a guy in a specific room. And there's mastering rooms that are more expensive than normal recording studio rooms with the most expensive speakers ever. And you see these pictures, and there's only like 10 people in the world that do most of the mastering because they're so lucky because it's Anyway, it's all made up. But what's fascinating is it's this dark art, supposedly. And I have a student of mine at the Recording Revolution who's in a band. And he could record and mix albums and stuff. And he had a buddy who was like, hey, man, I can't afford mastering like for the big studio. Could I just hire you to master my record? And he was on the road, and he was like, bro, I can do it for you real cheap. I'm not going to be at my studio, so it's not going to be on real speakers. I'm going to have to do it on headphones, and that's like a big no-no in the music space. Like, you never want to produce records on headphones if you're a professional. And his buddy was like, whatever, and he does a discounted gig. So he masters this record in a hotel room on headphones, and then the album goes to like number 3 or number 4 on the iTunes charts or whatever. And all of a sudden, this guy gets an idea. Is like, what if I just do more mastering? And he basically put like a before and after. Here was the song before mastering. Here's the after. And it made number 4 on this one chart on iTunes. He has a website that is a black screen with white text. There's no images. There's no pictures. It's one page, and it's multiple before and afters of masters. And a lot of them have made it on charting on iTunes. That's a result of him knowing some bands that were doing some good stuff. Not a result of the mastering, obviously. And he's added this other revenue stream of being a mastering engineer, and there's no pictures of his equipment. He doesn't even talk about his equipment. He just shows the results, and no one knows. He told me in a coaching call years ago, he's like, I feel bad, but no one knows I'm mastering these albums. I'm charging crazy rates. I'm mastering them in the hotel room, in between gigs, on headphones that cost like $200 that they could do on their own, and they're paying me. No. And that's part of it is like the dark art, and it's all stupid. We all think it sounds good, even though it's probably not much different. But it's the results. To your point, like, he doesn't even have a good website. It's the results, and that's someone understanding what it is people are really paying for. And if you understand what they're really paying for, it takes so much pressure off.
Mm-hmm. My friend, we're almost out of time here. This is really good. I know we could do this for a lot longer, but we've talked about masterminds, the value of them. Give me one sentence of, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you heard me at the beginning of the year talking about my mastermind group that I'm in. Graham is our fearless leader, and then also the one that I lead, and how they have been so transformative for me. Graham, give me your best sales pitch or guidance pitch on why who a mastermind might be good for, and what benefit they might receive as a result.
Yeah, you can grow faster when there's more smart people at the table helping you, right? That's the idea. Is, you know, the book of Proverbs says, in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. You are smart. You have ideas. One other person in the room minimum doubles the amount of good ideas that's possible, sees it from another angle, another perspective. And so if you want to grow fast, the fastest way you can grow is sometimes not even one-on-one coaching. It's, what if you were in a group of 10 other people that were all doing what you're doing, who have different experiences, who are all aiming for the same thing, speaking into your life. It's like why businesses, massive corporations, have board of advisors. What is the point of a board of advisors? There's a lot of points. Some of it's regulatory, some of it's, just accountability, but a lot of it is like, look, you're not in this business, but you run big companies. Here's our market. Here's what's happening. What are we missing? What blind spots do I have? And you've got other smart people saying, have you considered doing this? You really should consider this. And you're like, dude, you're absolutely right, because you're out of my bit. You're not in my business day to day. And it's that perspective shift. So I have grown so much by being in a community of other people that are like, have you considered this? And you're like, no, but that's a really good idea. Even if you're not the person they're talking to, when someone else is getting advice, you're like, oh, I should be paying attention. That's a really good idea. So a mastermind is like when you're like, dude, more content isn't the answer. It's like, I need somebody holding me accountable and giving me lots of good ideas, who are for me and know my business intimately. Oh, I can't speak more highly enough about masterminds. And that's one reason why I started one. And that's one reason why I'm so glad you're in it, because you bring a lot to our group as well. It's like the cumulative brain power and ideas and wisdom from the group, not just the one leader.
Love that. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Tell us, I think you have a free gift for us. Maybe share a little bit about your book.
Yeah, man. The book, it's either out right now, depending on when this episode drops, or it's for pre-order. It's called How to Get Paid for What You Know. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy books. So go check it out and enjoy that book. And if you like it, leave me a review. That'd be amazing. And then if you're like, dude, I'm interested in some passive income, I want to figure out like more about how the business model works, you can definitely learn that in the book. If you're more visual, I have a free workshop for you. It's a passive income workshop, and it's about 45 minutes. It walks you through all of the components, a few other goodies for you. It's at grahamcochrane.com/gift.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Parting words.
Oh man, I loved where this went. Be the guide. Just be the guide. Don't be the hero. Be Obi-Wan Kenobi. Don't be Luke Skywalker. Just be the old man and just help people slay Darth Vader and blow up the Death Star, and you'll be fine.
And you'll be fine. Awesome. Graham, thank you, man. You're a stud. Appreciate you hanging out with me today. Lots of really good stuff in our conversation. Grateful for it.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
All right, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with Graham and myself. Such a cool dude. Amazing heart. I would love to hear your big takeaways from this episode. What stood out? Talked about information products. Talked about imposter syndrome. It's the common theme around here. What stood out? I would love to hear. You can leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube or in Facebook. If you want to, leave a review you can do that on Spotify. I think you can do that I know you can do it in Apple Podcasts. I think you can do it on Spotify. Regardless, leave a comment, a feedback, a testimonial. I did want to read a testimonial. I'm going to start doing this. I used to do this. This was super fun for me to do. I'm bringing it back. So if you haven't left a review or you want to update your review, feel free to do that. Probably in the iTunes or the Apple podcast store. Okay, this is a 5-star review. I only read the 5-star reviews. Kidding, not kidding. This one is from Ufermik Uferson. I don't think that's that person's real name. The title of this review is Saved My Professional Life. If you're starting out, listen to this podcast. It will guide you toward success. If you have been in the business for years, listen to this podcast. It will inspire you to keep going. But most of all, for this video creator, I think Ufermik is talking about himself or herself here. For this video creator, this podcast helped me realize that I am not alone on Video Production Island. We've all been there. I find myself driving in my car on the way to shoots, listening to Ryan and his guests' advice, and I'm screaming out loud, yeah, man, that's me, and I need to do that stuff. This happens all the time. Ufermik Uferson, thank you for that 5-star review. Keep them coming. You guys are probably going to think that I'm like submitting these reviews. You're like, nobody's named Ufermik. Anyway, appreciate that. If you're not a part of our community, get in there. StudioSherpas.com/onward. Nope, that's for the Onward Summit /community. If you want to get in our community, show notes have all the links to all of the things. And lastly, if you haven't heard of the Ascend method or you haven't signed up for that free workshop, I've got a cheat sheet that I would love for you to have. This is the process that I use in client meetings that has helped give me confidence and give direction and help instill confidence in my clients before they hire us for big jobs. So you can download that. You can get access to the video and the free cheat sheet if you go to studiosherpas.com/ascend. If you're driving, don't write anything down, but you can just go to the show notes page and you've got all the links to all of the things. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being with me today, and I will see you next week right here. Okay, bye for now.